Good evening and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum. This is a special report of LMC News. This program, we're going to explore what has developed into a rather controversial issue. The firehouse on Mamaroneck Avenue, it's called Volunteers Firehouse. For those of you who may not know, Mamaroneck Village has an all-volunteer fire department and 5 firehouses. The firehouse that stirred the latest controversy is the firehouse located near the turn of the road on Mamaroneck Avenue. It's between the Hess gas station and the Tryout Comedy Club, almost across the street from Rich's Restaurant. This past November, the floor of that particular firehouse was deemed unfit from the weight of the fire truck. The firehouse was built 77 years ago, when fire trucks weighed a lot less than they do today. Initial estimates had the cost of repairing the floor of the firehouse at $200,000. Democrats on the village board felt it best not to repair the firehouse immediately, but assess the disrepair status of all the firehouses and also investigate the immediate and future needs of the village regarding fire protection. Some in the village suggested that perhaps 5 firehouses were not needed for a village the size of Mamaroneck. The volunteer firemen of the village lobbied strong and hard, and at a village board meeting almost a month ago, the discussion was rather heated, to put it mildly. After that rather raucous village board meeting, no action was taken, but more study was done, and there have been reports in the paper that a tentative compromise may have been worked out or are close to being worked out, that the cost of repair to the firehouse may only be in the neighborhood of $100,000, or also in a situation such as this, rumors fly. Some include reports that the village police department might take over one of the firehouses, the firehouse called Mamaroneck near the post office. Tonight, we hope to clear up the rumors and establish the facts in a less heated atmosphere than a village board meeting. With me is the mayor of the village of Mamaroneck, Paul Noto, a supporter all along of getting the repairs done immediately to the aging firehouse. Also with us is Beth Hofstetter, trustee for the village of Mamaroneck, who has urged a more studied approach to the problem of the firehouse and the needs of the village. Thank you both for being with us. And first off, Mayor Noto, could you fill us in on a few of the details, some of the history background, how the floor problem developed?
Well, your introduction was essentially accurate. The floor was being, the apron was being repaired in September, and that's the slanted portion at the front of the house by the door, and that was routine maintenance. During that repair job, apparently the floor or the apron had been opened up too close to the floor, and an engineer had noticed some stress inside the house at the floor level and had recommended that a more detailed study be undertaken to determine if in fact the floor was adequate for the new fire apparatus. A company named Massan was hired to do that. They did a test of the floor, and they determined that based on their testing that the floor was unfit for the apparatus, and the house was to be closed immediately for public safety purposes. And that was in November, approximately November 9th. It has remained closed since then, and as you reported, there were different estimates. I just wanted to clarify that the less expensive version, the $105,000, is for a repair of the floor as opposed to the more expensive rehabilitation of the floor. And there's a big difference in the type of job that would be undertaken if, in fact, one of the two were selected by the board.
Trustee Hofstetter, why do you feel that perhaps the repair should not be done immediately to the firehouse and get it going again?
Well, I just don't think that it is good procedure for any local village government to get a report on a Friday late and have to make a decision on a Monday night at a board meeting. It raised questions, questions that we needed more time to get answers to, and in fact this particular report raised a lot of serious questions as to how they reached their numbers and what kind of figures they used, where they got their monetary figures. And I'm very happy that we spent some time, and I think that is the way that the village should go about conducting their business. Before we make a decision on spending any kind of money, especially a major capital improvement, which is what I would view a $200,000 repair to a firehouse floor, that we make sure that that there aren't any other alternatives that would be just as sufficient in terms of safety, but certainly less expensive, because all of this goes on the tax roll sooner or later. And what we did find out over the passage of time, for instance, was that the numbers that Masan used supposedly were New York City numbers in terms of the pricing of the materials, and that he supposedly said to the fire chiefs, who were the ones who said it to me, that the cost in Westchester would be 25 to 50% less. And I think that makes a great deal of difference. You know, that somebody that we actually paid already $13,000 to, $7,000 for just the report on volunteers, didn't realize that he was coming to Westchester and gave us those kind of numbers. So I think it takes time. It may not, people do like things solved immediately, especially our fire department, but I don't think that that's always realistic. And I think that we have, as a board, responsibilities to all of the village residents, not just one part of it. And we have to take into account, obviously, the issue that the fire department is concerned with, but put it into a perspective, which means, you know, if this is the only cost, can we do it in a better way? Can it be done in a less expensive manner? Let's gather information, and from the facts that we develop, then we can make a reasoned and balanced decision. I would just like to say one other thing, if I might. There was a compromise that was reached, and that was last night at a fire council meeting. And the mayor was there, and Trustee Rogers was there, and I was asked to come too. And we did, or I did anyway, because I'm sure I was the one that they were mostly concerned with at the time. What the fire department wanted mostly, that the village board would, I think in the beginning they wanted the work done immediately. Over time, I think they have seen that it does take time to reach a fair conclusion. What they wanted now was a commitment on the part of the board that the houses would be fixed. And I said to them, now that I have seen some other numbers and have talked to a few other engineers, that I would be willing to commit myself and talk to my two colleagues, which I have done since last night, and commit us to saying that we would fix volunteers' floor in a cost-effective manner, and that we would also look into fixing the other two floors in Mamaroneck and Hook and Ladder, if necessary, because there is some information that we have gathered that may possibly, it may not really need to be fixed. I don't know that, and I don't like to, you know, we want to deal with issues that are facts and not start some more rumors. But at any rate, I was willing to make that commitment, and the mayor and Paul and Walter Rogers were willing to also, and I spoke to June and Kate, so that I think at the January 14th meeting, that since it's a new year, 91, we'll all be making resolutions that will attempt to work together on this. And in return, the fire department has said that they will either appoint several people to form a subcommittee to work with members of the board on issues relating to the fire department, this in particular, the reconstruction or the repair of the houses, and the other issues that we are also concerned with in terms of more long-range planning.
And I presume within this long-range planning thing, there has been the suggestion that perhaps a village the size of Mamaroneck many years ago did need 5 firehouses, but perhaps the need for 5 firehouses is not there today. Is that something that is being given serious consideration, or is that just another one of those?
Well, not from my end. I think that the reason last night's meeting was so important was that it was the first time that Beth had committed to fixing all 3 houses, and they were pretty adamant about wanting all 3 fixed. If the 2, Mamaroneck and Hook and Ladder, which we have received subsequent reports indicating that both would need repairs within the year, if that turns out not to be the facts, then we're all happy, because then we don't have to spend money that we don't need. Unfortunately, we are on notice now that those 2 houses, we're told by Masan, do need some repairs in the future. But I think it's great. I think we're going to have the 5 houses in operation, and the all-volunteer department will be maintained. Morale, I hope, will be restored, and the service will be provided in a cost-effective manner. Has there been any cost,
any ballpark figures bandied about on what it's going to cost on this?
On Mamaroneck and Hook and Ladder, the original reports were $80,000 and $90,000. I think 80 for Mamaroneck and 90 for Hook and Ladder. Again, through the bid process, I'm sure we'll get different numbers, and we'll find out. We haven't even addressed those 2 houses. We've primarily focused on volunteers, and I think that what Beth indicated in terms of money, I concur with. My primary concern was getting the house in operation immediately. We had never, at least I had never thought, and I don't even think that Beth had thought, that volunteers would be closed permanently, but the fact that we were delaying it generated great concern in the community, and I think that the reason I felt that we should immediately repair it was that if the board at some future date would ever think about reducing the number of houses, this board, not myself, but the majority, that wouldn't have been one of the houses to even think about. So that's why I felt that as long as volunteers wasn't in that equation, we should fix it immediately. But it appears that hopefully in January we'll go out to bid or go out to do specs and get some real hard numbers back from contractors on what the exact cost will be. We've received a number of scoping estimates, and they're just estimates. We've been through this on Village Hall, on the roof, any number of projects we undertake. We do specifications, bids come back, some are high. I would say some are low, but they're never low, they're always high. And we can then deal with it, and we'll know exactly what we can afford at that time. But the commitment that the department wanted and received was that all 5 houses would be fixed. And I think that was significant.
We're only 3.
Well, 3 that needed to be fixed, but 5 would be maintained. So with the 3, we're up to 5, and that's what I think they wanted, that commitment. And as far as cooperating, they said they would cooperate. I believe them. And
well, I hope so, because
yeah.
we've asked for information and haven't got it yet. But I think one of the things that I wanted to say about is the immediate need for the repair. I mean, I just question that. And the reason is that I think by taking it a little bit slow, we've been able to get the price at, at least a scoping budget estimate down almost half of the original $200,000. So I don't think that you really don't really serve any public good, I think, by rushing into something that, especially when it's going to cost a lot of money. And it was not an issue of public safety, and I think that's very important to stress in this community, because people should know that while it's an all-volunteer fire company, there are 5 houses, and each one of those houses, all 5 of them, report to every dwelling fire that there is. It isn't as if you live in a particular area and the closest house to you, only that fire company responds. That's not accurate. So that people who feel that they are living near volunteer firehouse, in particular people from Washingtonville and Harbor Heights who have come to the meetings, say that their house is closed. All 5 houses belong to all the people in the village of Mamaroneck, and they respond to fires in any structure in all parts of the village of Mamaroneck. So Washingtonville had a fire, all 5 companies would respond, regardless of whether or not one of the trucks actually came from volunteers right now. One of them from volunteers is now stationed at Mamaroneck, which is on Palmer Avenue near the post office, but I've helped to make arrangements so that one of the trucks, their second truck, can be stationed at Rescue Squad building, which is a lot nearer to the thruway and to Harbor Heights and the Knollwood area.
One thing, I actually did make a couple calls before this program, one to a couple insurance companies to find out the status of how insurance is affected by the location of a firehouse, what have you. But in part of the process, I found out that the village of Mamaroneck has one of the highest ratings in the area of any fire company.
It's been raised at a number of meetings, and I think
it's
important.
They use an outfit called Insurance Service Organ, ISO, and on a scale of 1 to 10, New York City has a number 1 rating. Because their fire response is excellent, and it's a firehouse every couple blocks or whatever. And the village of Mamaroneck is a number 3, where I think the only closest one is New Rochelle, I think, has a number 3. But the town of Mamaroneck has, I think, a 4. The Larchmont has a 4. Rye has a 4.
Well, a couple of reasons, and what Beth touched on is the fact that while in a general alarm all may respond, the closest house is the one that will get there first. One of the nice things about a volunteer fire department is not only that your trucks will respond to the scene, but chances are wherever you live in the village, you probably have a volunteer living somewhere near you. And that is an added benefit where a volunteer can be at the scene before the trucks, helping out and helping to establish some order at the fire. And I think that's a very nice aspect about having our all-volunteer department. You've got that dedication that comes from the heart of people who live in the community, live in the neighborhood, love it, and want to see that it's protected. And they're not doing it because they're being paid for it, they're doing it because they want to. And so the proximity issue, while it is a 3.5 or 4 square mile village, you are going to get the first house to respond, which is the one that's closest to you. And I think that was an issue that was raised in terms of the industrial area in Washingtonville. I think it was unfortunate. This particular house is in a key location, and that it was closed. I should say it was kept closed is what created the problems, because you've got the industrial area, the thruway, Harbor Heights, Washingtonville, and that's a large area that has to be covered, and this would be the first response.
With respect to, in the rumor category, there was this rumor that was floating around that perhaps the village police department might be relocated to one of the firehouses. Had either one of you heard that?
Well,
it was actually a memo that came out from our interim manager, who has not lived or worked in the village of Mamaroneck and is not privy to the fact that the slightest thing that's can ruffle anybody's feathers will cause, you know, a major damage in the community. And she said that she just thought, well, if we're talking about firehouses, you know, and she feels that the police department is somewhat cramped in their quarters, and so she was just saying a what if to the mayor and board. And what I found very interesting is that though the memo was to the mayor and board, it was out in the community, and I understand in the firehouses before I even knew about it. As I was walking in, I met Paul, and he said to me, "Did you see this?" I said, "I don't even know what you're talking about." And I would say, as was said by Trustee Ottinger at a meeting with the Fire Council, you know, when you hire people such as a manager, it is their responsibility and their job to be creative and to say what if and what if. And the first line of command is the board and the mayor and the board. And if we think it's a bad idea, you drop it, and it was dropped. And that I get out into the community, of course, is the politics of this whole thing, which is, it's a shame at times, but I don't see any harm in it. I mean, it was not something that we may want to consider right now, or maybe ever, but I don't think there's anything wrong with people, you know, having ideas and suggestions and coming forth. And I found that last night, even at the Fire Council meeting. A number of the firemen have come over and have said, you know, I know somebody in this business or that, in terms of construction, and are now much more willing to come forward with numbers to help us get that price down, which I think is our responsibility. I would also tell you that I've been in touch with New Rochelle. They are redoing a firehouse at this point, and try to find out what their procedure is and how they go about things to see if that would help us in making our decision. And one of the things that I did find out, and I think that we should pursue, is the gentleman that I spoke to really questioned, you know, on what basis the firehouse was even initially closed. And I said, I'm really not privy to that, but it was based on calculations of the stress load. And he said that should be, someone else should go over that. In other words, it should be at least a review of another structural engineer who goes over the same numbers and calculate. And somebody is willing to do that.
On a slightly different subject, but related nonetheless, somebody did bring up the subject that the police chief is at all the village board meetings, but the fire chief is not. Is there any reason to that, or is there any thought to?
It's historic, and the chief is welcome. They usually have representatives at the meetings. The chief is welcome to sit up on the dais if there's room. But I don't know that it was ever deliberate. It's just the way it's. I've been on the board since '84. It's always been that way, and we've never added or reduced the number of people who sit up there. It would be fine if he wanted to. It's good that they are at the meetings, by the way. I think over the years the chiefs have at least sent a representative. I think in past years they may not have felt the need. I mean, certainly now they're scrutinizing what we do very carefully. But the fire department, I think, recognizes that they have a big responsibility and they're working with us. They are also very concerned, and they would like to see a commitment from the board, not just this board, but future boards, that a five-house department will be maintained. That's of critical importance, and the impression I got, actually I was at the meeting last night for a different reason, simply to ask them where they intended to go. I mean, I was hearing rumors about what their intentions were as far as the future, and what I was hearing I didn't like, so I was trying to get from them an idea as to where they were going and what direction the department is going to take, and I got answers that at least would clarify the issue. And they are committed to a volunteer department. They are committed to 5 houses. And they want to see the board maintain that commitment, and I concur. I think it's important enough to us in terms of the savings from having a paid department, which is extraordinary, that we should maintain it. I mean, we do have to spend money to do this, but our volunteer fire department budget, it pales in comparison to communities much smaller than ours that have paid employees in the department. And while we all want to save money, I think we have to keep in mind that there are some intangibles, and some of those are things that don't necessarily cost money, but the kinds of support and consideration they need from the leaders of the community is very, very important.
Certainly, and also I presume the general impression is certainly if we had to pay for our fire department, it would, in the long run,
astronomical.
cost
Definitely
quite a bit.
true. And our volunteer fire department is not only saves us money financially, but I think it's wonderful that there are people who live within the community and are willing to give that kind of service. Right. However, I do not think that means that anything that they want is just okayed because they are saving us money. I still believe that we have a responsibility as a board and as the people who deal with the money, raise the money, and have to spend the money to ask the appropriate questions Never said that that house wouldn't be repaired, just that it has to be, we have to have information in order to do it in a responsible way. And I think that we'll all be better for this because people are now forewarned.
Surely.
You cannot just come and
Getting
ask.
to the bottom line on the matter, with the cost of repairing the firehouse and that, can we see our tax bill going up?
Yes, you
somewhat?
certainly can.
How much? How much?
It's going to depend.
Anytime
It's
you
going to
spend money,
depend.
it's going to impact on the tax rate. Our revenues are down, our assessments are down. We are facing the same problems most municipalities are. It's a question of priorities, and I think the fire department is obviously a very important priority. The savings, though, I think another issue that Beth raised earlier was we didn't get the money down for the same job. We will probably do a less extensive job. From my perspective, is it better to do that, which will last 20 years or 15 years, or do the job that will last another 77 years? And that's something the board has to discuss. I mean, I'm willing to go along as long as the board acknowledges that these are the options we're dealing with. We want to do it the least expensive way. And I think the fire department does too. I think what they were looking for, which they never got until last night, was the commitment that we're going to fix it.
And they kept saying that from me until I knew there was a reasonable cost.
So the commitment materialized, and now I think it's obviously a great deal of relief can be felt throughout the community once it
I think we
hits
can
the
say,
newspaper.
generally speaking, in the past couple of years, every $85,000 to $90,000 you add to a budget item is a 1% increase in the taxes. So that's, you know, a rough figure.
That's in the operating. This would be a bonded. So this
It's
would be
true,
paying
but it
over
has
20
an
years.
impact on the operating
Everything
budget.
every
So-
expenditure, if you buy a paperclip or you bond
Right.
something, will have some impact. We couldn't evaluate what this impact is. Obviously, it's
But
too
we
premature.
tried to do a little bit of a grid with the budget committee that if, you know, if our capital budget is this, this, and this, and then we fold something into it that's optional or something like this that we're going to commit to do for 100 or 200, how does that affect, you know, each of those items for the next 5 and 10 years down the line? And then that way you try and even it out. Now, this was a bit of a surprise to us that we'd have to fix floors, but usually you can kind of predict the kinds of things you're going to do, how much you want to put into sewer repair, street repair and things like that. So you can kind of phase it so it helps to keep the tax rate constant, which would be one of my goals. I don't think we'll ever see in my lifetime tax decreases, but at least we can keep them at a fair and equitable way.
Or a predictable way,
Yeah,
at least, so we know where we stand. But we're in a situation now, the state's cutting us back. We're in the middle of our budget. We're going to lose 10% of state aid. Next year, it's going to be worse. So many factors impact on the budget that even though we'd like to think for a year we can prepare, every March and April, it's a whole new ballgame.
As a matter of fact, I think what the state is cutting out would probably pay for the repair, the lowest number that we just got. I think it's $107,000 they're cutting us out, and that could have paid
That will
for the
impact
floor.
your taxes directly because that's in the operating budget.
All right. Well, I thank you both for being with us, and I see our time is about up on this special report for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. With us has been the mayor of the Village of Mamaroneck, Paul Noto, and trustee for the Village of Mamaroneck, Beth Hofstetter. I would also like to thank our crew in Studio 2 for being a big help here tonight at the LMC-TV complex in the Mamaroneck Free Library. Also thanks to Joan Grott of the library for loaning us the use of the community room. Among those who worked very hard on getting this special edition together have been the director for the program, Jeff Montanaro, who also put together many of the graphics and talked to an awful lot of firemen. Nancy St. Leifer for getting a lot of the technical details in order. Greg Fetterbush, who's always a big help. Debbie Slansky, the coordinator for Studio 1 and on loan for this particular program and helping out in Studio 2. And also a special thanks to Randi and Roger Norum for helping with the lighting and camera work, and the staff of LMC-TV. If you have any comments or suggestions for future programs, please drop us a line at LMC News, at the library here, or at the Mamaroneck High School. I'm Roger Norum. Thanks for being with us and watching on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Happy New Year.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Arthur Trowbridge. On this edition of LMC News, a popular French restaurant burns on the Post Road.
The Larchmont Motel takes another step toward being housing again. We'll have an updating interview.
This weekend, our area hosts a parenting conference for all parents with questions looking for answers.
The Gulf crisis causing dramatic gasoline price swings for our area.
How are you doing with your New Year's resolution? Those stories and more on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. First, in Larchmont, for the second time in its 20-year history, the popular French restaurant on the Post Road, La Côte d'Argent, has been virtually destroyed by fire. The fire inspector for the town, Richard Soudal, has ruled out arson or an electrical fire. He did say there's a strong possibility a smoldering cigarette in the tufting of one of the chairs may have been the cause. The fire gutted the 43-year-old building, and it took 4 fire engines from Larchmont and Mamaroneck to get the blaze under control. 8 firefighters suffered minor injuries, among them a senior at Mamaroneck High School, Paul Mitchell. Mitchell hurt his back when he slipped on some ice. He was treated at United Hospital. 10 years ago, a fire at the restaurant destroyed the building's attic. It closed then for 3 months. This time, the fire was in the restaurant itself. The owners say they'll rebuild and plan to have a New Year's Eve party next December 31st for the 150 people who planned to be there this New Year's Eve and had to cancel. Roger?
The Larchmont Motel takes another step toward being a place to live again. The town of Mamaroneck Deputy Supervisor Elaine Price was interviewed by the newest member of the LMC News team, Lynn Goodman.
I'm sitting here with Elaine Price, the Deputy Supervisor of the Mamaroneck Town Council. Last night there was a very important meeting of the council, and Elaine was there. Would you tell us a little about that, please?
Certainly, thank you. The Town Council last night announced that the Affordable Housing Task Force, which is comprised of the Town Council and several members of the community, we have designated a preferred builder for the Larchmont Motel site, and that's big news indeed. And the builder is Purbar Associates. They're located in Elmsford, New York. One of the reasons we chose Purbar Associates is because they are very sophisticated in the complex interaction of grants from the federal, state, and county governments. They understand what the grant process is all about, and we're going to need grants because the site acquisition was so high. As importantly, they're a Westchester group, and they understand the pressing need for affordable housing, rental affordable housing in Westchester and in Larchmont.
Where is the site of the new apartment complex?
Well, it's the site right now of the Larchmont Motel, and it will be built on that site, 58 units.
Thanks to Deputy Town of Mamaroneck Supervisor Elaine Price and to Lynn Goodman for making her debut with LMC News.
This Saturday, January 12th, a very important date for any parents of teenagers or sub-teens. This Saturday, a special all-day conference to help parents out. For more details, LMC News spoke with the conference organizer, Randi Norum.
I'm sitting here with Randi Norum, who is leading a parenting conference next week. Could you please tell us a little about the conference, Ms. Norum?
Sure, Lynn. The conference is running next Saturday, January the 12th, from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be held at Mamaroneck High School in the Post Road unit. We are having a keynote speaker in the morning at about 9:30, and then after he's through, we're going to break up into groups. We're going to have workshops. There will be 5 in the morning, lunch, and then 5 more in the afternoon. And we've got various topics such as how to negotiate with your child, drug abuse, just a gamut, building self-esteem in your children.
Do you have to belong to any organization to attend?
No, this is open to the public. We have invited everyone and anyone who wants to attend, mothers and fathers. We're also providing child care if you have little ones, and we'd love to have as many people as possible. The registration fee is $10 if you register before the 12th. Otherwise, at the door, it's $15, and we've sent out brochures, and they're available in the community.
Is there a phone number people can call if they're interested?
Yes, they can call 381-4497, and I will probably answer the phone. So if they will tell me what they want, I will be very happy to provide them with it.
And is this for parents of children of all ages?
Actually, it is open to parents of children of all ages. The conference itself is really geared to children from 6th grade through high school, but anyone is able to attend. We would love to have them.
Thanks, Randy, and good luck on Saturday, the 12th of January.
Ever drive by a gas station and wonder why the price at one station is so dramatically different than another? The service station owners generally say the company and not the individual station sets the price. So take a look at a few samples in our area. The Northville gas station on the Post Road at the Larchmont-New Rochelle border is at $1.37.9 for unleaded regular. But the Northville near the Mamaroneck train station on Mamaroneck Avenue charges $1.53.9 for the same gasoline. Not only that, you have to pump your own there. Some other prices in our area. The Getty on the Post Road in Larchmont, $1.37.9 for no lead regular. The ATI in Larchmont, the same, $1.37.9. While at some area stations the price for regular no lead is way up there at $1.67.9, Mobil, Sunoco, and Hennessy seem to like that price range. Arthur?
If you started the new year with a resolution, compare yours with some of your neighbors. LMC News reporter Nancy St. Leifer and Eileen Deutsch spoke with some people on the streets of Larchmont and Mamaroneck about their New Year's resolutions.
I think to work a little less hard than I did last year.
Yes, work less and play more.
Oh, okay, hi, I'm here with three very handsome-looking men walking the streets of Larchmont. Your name is?
John Greeny, Sammy Strategy.
Don Lionello.
Okay, the question for the day, guys, is do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Never to make any more resolutions.
Why, did you have a bad experience?
They never work out, you know. I'm a big procrastinator, so I decided to forget it.
But you used to make resolutions.
Not anymore.
Okay, what about you?
Just to get through the year without any major abrasions, you know.
What kind are we talking about here?
Last year was filled with a lot of injuries for me, so I just want to make it through safe.
He's a big sports guy.
And here's Brett.
Well, I can't interrupt my interview here. Wait, Brett, stay there, I'll get you. And here's Tom, who watches us on television, saw me eat all the cookies I can eat in the world. Do you have any New Year's?
Yeah, I'm going to stop eating cookies.
And me too.
Cynthia Green.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, I'm going to exercise more.
Okay, how are you going to do it? What are you going to exercise?
Well, I just got a VCR, and I'm going to get a tape, and I'm going to get up in the morning, and I'm going to exercise.
Have you ever made New Year's resolutions before?
Yeah.
Did you stick to them?
A lot of last year I accomplished a lot of my New Year's resolutions.
You're the first person that I've interviewed that said, what do you attribute this ability to?
Determination, strong will.
Hi, what's your name?
Jonathan.
And do you know what New Year's resolutions mean?
Yeah.
What do they mean?
I don't know, you have to make a resolution, like, if you're really fat, you have to make a resolution not to eat a lot. And
you telling me that for a specific reason? Do you have any that you're making?
No.
You don't want to change anything? You want to do anything differently?
I guess I'll make a resolution to watch more TV.
Nancy St. Leifer and Eileen Deutsch, thanks a lot for your New Year's material. The Emlyn Theater for the Performing Arts has quite a lineup in the coming weeks. For more, over to you, Arthur Trowbridge.
The Emlyn Theater kicks off 1991 with Saturday jazz performances featuring Ed Pulcher and the Condon Gang. Cornetist, bandleader, and former co-owner of Eddie Condon's, Ed Pulcher, along with the Condon Gang, recreate the spirit of the famous New York jazz club Eddie Condon's when they take to the stage on January 12th at 8 p.m. And vocalist Sandra Reeves Phillips will present the smash hit one-woman show, The Late Great Ladies of Blues and Jazz, on Saturday, January 19th at 8 p.m. Coming up on Friday, January 18th, the Emlyn will present the Hartford Ballet in an eclectic program featuring works by George Balanchine. Under the direction of Michael Utoff, the Hartford Ballet is primarily committed to developing new dances by nationally and internationally recognized choreographers. The company will perform two Balanchine works, Allegro Brillante and Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux. The concert is at 8 p.m. and further information for all events can be obtained by calling the Emlyn box office at 698-0098. Roger?
Thanks for pronouncing all those tongue twisters. Here's a seedy note. A survey by the U.S. Department of the Interior shows that over 60 million people in America actively participate in feeding wild birds. Many people restrict their bird feeding to winter months, and for those who believe that feeding wild birds brings the beauty and wildness of nature up close easily and with little cost, are also aware that some individual birds may come to rely on your handouts, neglecting their usual practice of scouting out a variety and more natural food sources. For those watching who are new to the pleasures of feeding wild birds, we here at LMC News would like to remind you, the best policy is not to interrupt your winter feeding program. Arthur?
And now comes the bravest member of our LMC News staff. Our very own weatherman, John Trabakino, will have his prognostications on an entire week. You can bet your boots on this one. John?
Good evening. This is John Trabakino with the weather here on Channel 36. And it looks like we're going to have a snowstorm or a very bad flood as the week continues. On Monday, it looks like we're going to have snow or rain, depending on the track of the storm, temperatures between 30 and 32. On Tuesday, there's a more likely chance of snow than rain, but we're going to put the rain in to be safe, temperatures in the low 30s. Wednesday, it looks like it will be blustery cold temperatures falling through the day, but about 34 will top it off. On Thursday, frigidly cold 18. Friday, developing clouds. Saturday and Sunday, the weekend, chance of snow, temperatures on the cold side. John Trabakino with the weather here on Channel 36. You have a nice weekend.
Thanks, John Trabakino, for something whether we like it or not.
Now that the holiday season is over, one would think it would be a lot easier to get a ticket to The Godfather Part 3. Wrong. Ticket lines for this epic are still stretching from the lobby of the Larchmont Playhouse, where this blockbuster hit is currently showing, all the way down Palmer Avenue, and it doesn't seem to be letting up, despite some very mixed reviews and not so flattering opinions from audiences county-wide. Yet this film is continuing to set records and draw large crowds for all performances day and night. We recently had the chance to visit the Larchmont Playhouse for some audience reaction, and here's what some people had to say.
What do you think of Sofia Coppola? She as bad as people say she was, or?
Yeah, she's pretty bad.
Too drawn out? Not too long?
It's slow developing.
Is the end worth it at least?
It's very sad.
Very sad? I saw some lady walking out about 2 minutes ago with tears in her eyes, so I guess, I don't know. Think it's worth for me to go see?
For a better look at this and many other films, join me here for my new show, Standing Room Only. This and every Friday evening at 4 and 9 p.m. For LMC-TV Entertainment News, I'm Pat Micalizzi.
That's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. A couple reminders for you. If you missed any part of the program, you can catch it any weekday at 7:30 p.m. and around 30 minutes after midnight. Or you can call LMC-TV at 698-6808 and ask for a special showing of it on Request TV. And another note, we are all volunteers who put this new show together. It's a great way to give back to your community and have fun at the same time.
If you think you might want to join us, drop by the LMC studio in the Palmer Avenue unit of the high school. It's right up the stairs across from Walter's Hot Dogs. We record this program on Thursday nights, and that's the time to visit, around 7 p.m.
And thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Arthur Trowbridge. We'll see you again on Channel 36 and LMC News.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Bill Littauer.
And I'm Deborah Doern. Here are our top stories. A final decision on the Mamaroneck firehouse controversy.
The Gulf crisis disrupts a Mamaroneck high school trip.
Mamaroneck Village Police are going to learn Spanish.
a new candidate for mayor of Mamaroneck Village. Now our top story. A final decision should be made tonight in the Mamaroneck Village firehouse controversy. The village board must decide how to go about repairing firehouses. The compromise proposal expected to pass would save all 5 village firehouses, but we don't know yet what the exact cost will be. The board has been getting estimates over the past several months.
A couple of months ago, LMC News reported the graffiti problem on the Weaver Street Bridge. Since then, the state and town of Mamaroneck have been debating who should keep the graffiti off. Well, the debate is apparently over, and the town will have the responsibility for cleaning up the concrete overpass. The town is offering a $100 reward for information leading to the arrest of the vandals.
An independent candidate has thrown his hat into the ring for mayor of the village of Mamaroneck. Paul Noto is running for re-election as mayor in the March 19th election, and now he will not only face an expected Democratic candidate, but also Norman Rosenblum, a former Republican trustee who is running as an independent for mayor. Rosenblum was active in a lobbying effort to bring lights to the baseball field at Harbor Island.
Now here's LMC school reporter Monique Citron with a story about the Gulf and Mamaroneck High.
Here at home, the Gulf conflict is having its impact too. Mamaroneck High School students who plan to travel to Rome next month in an exchange program have had their trip canceled because of the present uncertainty. Their counterparts from Rome were just a little luckier. They just completed their 2-week visit to our community. Did they have a good time? Such a good time that their trip made front-page news in Rome's most influential newspaper, which detailed the students' trip to an elegant residential suburb of New York City. A lovely lady, Miriam Mestro, Chatsworth School Secretary, retires this week after 32 years in the district, 17 at Chatsworth. You may remember that in 1987 she won a national award for her supreme example of committed service. We all wish her much happiness.
The 100-year-old Manor Park umbrella is going to be fixed again. It was restored just 3 years ago at a cost of $1,200. But within 2 weeks of the last restoration in 1988, vandals damaged roofing shingles. And now Larchmont resident Leah Vaccaro has donated $300 to the Larchmont Historical Society to repair that damage.
Mamaroneck Village Police are trying to improve their relations with minority residents. They are doing that by learning Spanish. The Reverend Brian O'Connor and Sister Laura Reynolds of St. Vito's Church have offered to teach the officers twice a week. While not saying there are problems with Hispanic citizens, the police say learning the language will improve communication.
And now here's our LMC film critic, Pat Micalizzi.
Robin Williams and Robert De Niro may seem like an odd combination for a drama, but they definitely make a great pair in their newest film, Awakenings. Based on a true story, De Niro plays Leonard Lowe, a man whose condition left him in a sleep-like state for 30 years. Robin Williams plays Dr. Malcolm Sayer, the doctor at the Chronic Hospital, where Leonard's been a patient since childhood. After months of treatment, the patients who suffer from this disease are suddenly awakened and begin to live the lives that were taken away from them so many years ago.
Does he ever speak to you? Of course not. Not in words.
No change, dated 9/11/44.
Your patients, Doctor, haven't moved in decades.
What I believe, what I know, is these people are alive inside.
Well, how do you know that, Doctor?
I know it.
I just wanted to say to you, I preferred your explanation.
At 200 milligrams, he showed no response. Maybe he needs more.
Maybe he needs less.
What's there? It's a miracle.
Where are my glasses?
They're on your face. I could deal with losing 30 years of my life, could you?
Have you thought what you'd like to do today?
Everything.
Leonard, where are you going?
I would do all the things that you people take for granted. I'd go for a walk. I'd look at things.
Directed by Penny Marshall, Awakenings is now showing at the Mamaroneck Playhouse. For a behind-the-scenes look at this and many other films, join me for my new show, Standing Room Only, this and every Friday at 4 and 9 p.m. For LMC-TV Entertainment News, I'm Pat Micalizzi.
A high-speed police chase a week ago Wednesday ended with the capture of 2 teenage boys. Mamaroneck police picked up the chase at the Boston Post Road and Orienta Avenue. They spotted 2 boys aged 14 and 15 in a 1986 Toyota passing a red light. They chased them at speeds up to 90 miles an hour, finally catching them at Playland. The 2 boys were released in the custody of their parents and are due to appear in family court. They were not identified because of their ages.
Batters up. Registration continues this Saturday for the April-June season of the Larchmont-Mamaroneck Little League. Registration is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the basement.
Crowned in Mamaroneck's Elks Hoop Shoot last Wednesday. The Elks National Free Throw Contest is the largest youth activity sponsored by Elks Lodges throughout the county. Over 3 million boys and girls between the ages of 8 and 13 took part this year nationwide. The 4 champions now advance to the district finals at Mount Vernon, January 26th. They will compete against other winners from this area. The 4 local champs are 9-year-old Timothy Boyle, 11-year-old Billy Scirocco, 12-year-old Joy Sarlo, and 12-year-old Jimmy Watson, all from Mamaroneck.
After last week's snow and ice, here's the long-range outlook from our LMC weatherman, John Trabakino.
What an incredible week we had. Last week, snow, unbelievable snow for the Larchmont Mamaroneck region. And never mind that, the whole county was buried under a lot of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. But as the week goes on, it's going to change. It's going to be all snow. So our extended forecast for the next few days: Monday, sunshine, clouds, temperatures in the low to mid-30s. Tuesday, thickening clouds. There's a chance of snow later on during the day. Temperatures near 30. Wednesday, cloudy, cold snow. Depending on the storm near the Gulf Coast, temperatures in the low to mid-20s to near 30. Thursday, more snow on tap, highs in the 20s. And the outlook for Friday, sunny, cold, highs between 30 and 35. And the weekend, you got it. Can't escape it. Cloudy, cold, no freezing rain, but a lot of more snow to come. Want to say thank you and have a nice week. This is John Trabakino with the LMC Weather on Channel 36.
As all eyes are focused on Saudi Arabia to see what will happen in the next few days, LMC News reporter Jamie Stein spoke to Rich Capagrosa, who worked with the American Legion Post 90 to send messages to the troops.
On Saturday, January 5th, LMC-TV opened its studio in the Mamaroneck Free Library to the members of the Westchester community so that they could come here and videotape a message to the United States troops stationed in Saudi Arabia. The American Legion Post 90 helped to co-sponsor the event. To my left is production coordinator Rich Capagrosa. So Rich, how do you think the day turned out?
I was very pleased with the way it went throughout the day. Had a lot of good people here, a lot of good people helping out, a lot of the LMCT volunteers, and American Legion Post 90 was a great help all day, and we had over 50 people throughout the day leaving messages. And you can see those messages on LMC-TV because they're going to be shown in between shows throughout, the rest of the month and into next month, certainly.
We're really excited. When will the troops receive the tape?
Several tapes have already been sent out to specific soldiers. People came in and sent specific messages to the soldiers, and we got their military addresses. So those tapes are out. I've also been in touch with Armed Forces radio and television, and we're going to try and get it played through those channels as well. So things are moving.
Can you tell me some of the people who were here on January 5th?
Like I said, a lot of people from the Legion came throughout the day. They were really helpful, giving their support. A lot of the town officials and politicians were here, Beth Hofstetter and Kate Weingarten. Like I said, a lot of actually had soldiers and sons or husbands or something like that over in the Middle East. They came in and sent messages. And as a special, I guess it was a surprise, a birthday party going on next door in the community room, and a lot of the children, they found out what we were doing, wanted to leave messages as well.
Keep your chins up, and we hope you get back real soon. Can you say something, Dave?
And come back soon safely. Okay. My name is Danny Kaiser. I live in Larchmont, New York, and we hope the Iraqis lose. Thank you. I hope you come home safely. My name is Jennifer.
On the same day, Eileen Deutsch spoke to Blanche Nelson, who had a message for her son.
I'm standing here with Blanche Nelson, whose son just recently got sent over to Saudi Arabia. When did he get sent over, Blanche?
About 2 weeks ago.
And have you heard from him yet?
Yes, I have. He said he's out on the outskirts of the desert, and that they living in a trailer-type house, and it only have 4 rooms and light. And he said the water is very foul there, and so I'm wondering if I could send him water.
Oh, I wonder That's a good question, I guess. Can anybody know if you could tell? Are you sending him Blanche came to Studio 2 today to send a message to her son that we're going to send forward. And she did say that she was going to be sending him packages. And what do you put in your package?
Well, he asked for like Ritz crackers, onion dip, potato chips, cheese nips, and I'm sending him tuna in the can, plus other canned stuff, Snickers, candy bars, cookies, you know, the things that he like. I'm trying to send him those things, plus some things he don't like so he can share with the other boys that is there.
How long is he, what branch of the armed services is he?
He's in the Army.
And how long has he been in?
A year this month.
And when did you find out that he was going to be sent over to Saudi Arabia?
About the middle of November. It was a possibility, but he wasn't sure. And about 3 weeks ago, he called me and said definitely he was going there. And my heart broke.
Well, everybody here in Mamaroneck and LMC-TV wishes him and everybody else a lot of luck.
Yes, thank you. Okay. And thank you for taking this tape so that he can see it and see his mommy.
Okay, you're welcome. It's our pleasure.
Right, thank you very much. And Val, I love you very much. And take care. And remember, God is always on your side.
And that's our report. Remember, this news program is on twice each weekday night at 7:30 and 12:30. It's an all-volunteer effort. If you would like to join in the fun, join us at the LMC studio in the Palmer Avenue building of Mamaroneck High School. It's a good way to give a little something back to the community in terms of service. I'm Bill Littauer.
And I'm Deborah Doern. Join us again next week, same time, same place. To another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Deborah Doern.
And I'm Lynn Goodman. Among our top stories, the Mamaroneck town acts to control glitz.
The Larchmont waterfront might be in for a change.
With the new year come new laws and new taxes.
Larchmont grants entertainment permits, so let the good times roll. But first, our top story. After months of controversy, the Mamaroneck Board of Trustees agreed to begin repairs to 3 of the village's 5 firehouses in a rare 5-0 vote. Fire Chief Joseph Guerreri stated that if this vote had happened months ago, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. LMC attended the meeting, and here's a clip.
Chief, well, add to that, keep the 5 firehouses open. Yes, fine.
Yes, that's fair.
Is that fair? We will amend it to okay.
As long as there's a volunteer fire department, Chief.
Well,
fair enough?
Let me tell you something. You guys had a good trip to Australia, but anyway, we never did say that the volunteer firemen in the village of Mamaroneck, 240 of them, were not going to respond to fires. We never said that.
No.
And there's a rumor going around that says we are.
No.
And there was a rumor going around today that the fire department was going to come here in full tonight. And we made a commitment to Beth at our last council meeting. I didn't know this until Beth called me tonight. I says there will be no firemen here tonight. Only if they come as a taxpayer, which you cannot stop. But there's a rumor going around that we're going to stop responding to fires. We had two companies, Christmas Eve, go to Portchester and leave their families and sleep the next day through Christmas because they had help another community. And if there's a rumor going around, I want to know who's pressing that rumor.
No. Chief, actually, when I was saying that as long as we have five volunteer fire departments, I was really meaning that it would make it's a cost-effective move to fix the firehouses as long as we do have volunteer companies that can man them. So I wasn't really referring to a fact that whether something that's locally may be happening tonight or something, but I was really just reiterating the fact that it's important to us to keep 5 firehouses and to keep a volunteer fire department.
My life, my two systems' life, that there will be a response until everything's settled here.
I believe that.
All right, well, the motion then is the commitment to repair the 3 houses in a cost-effective manner and to maintain the 5 houses.
5 firehouses.
Fine, I will be happy to second that. That's
already
great.
seconded.
All right, second, and we can vote and move on to other business. Lenny?
Trustee Ottinger?
Yes.
Weingart?
Yes.
Rogers? Yes. Hofstetter? Mayor Noto?
Yes. We'll see you on the 28th.
Some residents and officials in Mamaroneck are concerned that the town is being too urbanized because of flashy neon and glitzy signs along its main strip, the Boston Post Road. So from now on, any commercial or industrial operation anywhere in town will have to go through the new Architectural Review Board. The board, which was newly established this past January 2nd, will have control over the color and overall design of buildings and signs, as well as more mundane aspects of a site plan, such as garbage bins. Multifamily dwellings will also require approval from the board. The Mamaroneck Town Council has selected Robert Wassman, a retired construction manager and former Town Republican Committee chairman, as the review board's chairman. Other members of the unsalaried Architectural Review Board are Ralph Heisel, Robert Immerman, Pam Washington, and Joan Williams.
Now here's LMC school reporter Monique Citron with 2 stories. One on relocating the 6th graders to middle school, the other on how the Mamaroneck school system will cope with the state cut in funds to our district. Monique?
Mamaroneck Superintendent Norman Kolb told the Board of Education last week that he endorses the present pattern of organization, which in effect will keep 6th graders at their respective elementary schools, rather than shifting them to the Hummocks Middle School. Kolb further called for a bond issue that would be required to renovate and create additional space. He also recommended a re-examination of what has been learned about the middle school and the Citizens Committee report that can be applied to the present pattern of organization. Kolb did suggest, however, that the Actionville Enrichment Program, presently housed at Central, be moved to the Hummocks. Sarah, I understand that Governor Como has slashed $880,000, which is unbelievable, from the school district budget. How are we going to compensate this year?
Well, it certainly is a tremendous amount, particularly since it's come in the middle of the school year when we had no indication at budget time that that was going to happen. So it was a revenue that we anticipated having. So we have had to take some steps to economize and to make up for those lost revenues. We've put freezes on out-of-state travel, on equipment, textbook purchases. No new consultant contracts will be promulgated. We have we are looking at redeployment of aides and secretaries when vacancies do occur. Hopefully we will be able to regain about, I would say, half, a little bit more than half of that $880,000 with those economies. We also will have some economies in the sense of reductions in employees' retirement system and teachers' retirement system, which hopefully will make up the balance.
And what about next year? What can we look forward to then?
Well, it seems since we have had 2 years where the state has decreased our state aid considerably, that it is prudent for us to anticipate a decrease in state aid. Therefore, we would recognize a decrease in revenues in our budget, which means that we have to relook at and rethink about what we are doing. We have an excellent school system. We certainly are going to continue to have that. But we will have to look to, in various areas, for cuts. And the Board of Education, as well as the administration, is trying to deal with those problems at the present time.
As of January 1991, new laws and new taxes become mandatory. To begin with, the 86% increase for cars towed from private property. The average charge will jump from $35 to $65. On the other hand, used car buyers get new rights under the Lemon Law. As of January 21st, used car buyers will receive increased protection for purchasing used cars. The new statute will extend warranty coverage to 90 days or 4,000 miles, whichever comes first. Another new law makes it tough for teenagers under 18 to purchase cigarettes. As of January 1st, a new law mandates that public vending machines be set up in a place that can be monitored by employees. In addition, following the lead of Massachusetts and Florida, the New York State Legislature passed the headlights law, requiring headlights to be turned on whenever windshield wipers are in use.
The Larchmont Board of Trustees is considering restricting future uses of Manor Park, Larchmont Shore Club, and Larchmont Yacht Club for recreation only. Technically, as many as 20 homes could be built on separate lots of 30,000 square feet. The mayor and some trustees want to do away with this option altogether. The proposed amendment, if finalized, would limit development near the Long Island Sound. Restricting use is also under consideration in Mamaroneck Town, which last May imposed a 1-year ban on development at Bonnie Briar Country Club, Wingfoot Club, and a section of Hampshire Country Club while waiting for an environmental impact study. The Larchmont waterfront zoning law cannot be changed until after a public hearing, which will be scheduled after the amendment is finalized.
Larchmont will once again rock and roll. The Village of Larchmont Board of Trustees granted entertainment permits to the newly renovated Paris Club, formerly the Cellar Bar, and to PK's Pub. The permits allow the Paris Club and PK's Pub to have live entertainment until midnight Sunday through Thursday, and until 1 a.m. for shows on Friday and Saturday. The Larchmont Village Board had previously revoked the Cellar Bar's permit this past fall because musicians there had been playing beyond the 2 a.m. curfew. The Board of Trustees can withdraw either permit if there are noise complaints.
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. If you think you might want to join us in preparing the show, drop by the LMC studio in the Palmer Avenue unit of the high school. It's right up the stairs from Walter Hot Dogs, and we know you know where that is. We record this program on Thursday nights. Come visit us around 7 p.m. Thanks for watching LMC News. I'm Deborah Doern.
And I'm Lynn Goodman. We'll see you again next time on LMC News, Channel 36. welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Lynn Goodman.
I'm Bill Littauer, and these are some of our top stories. Larchmont firemen get a new contract and a new fire truck.
Mamaroneck Village is raising parking fees, and Larchmont may enforce its parking laws by computer.
Mamaroneck Village cops won't register for Spanish class.
The Larchmont Library gets a computer search program, and Mamaroneck residents get newspaper recycling boxes.
Those stories and more coming up, but now our top story. The political scene in the village of Mamaroneck gets a little more crowded. With more on that, here's LMC News reporter Roger Norum.
The race for mayor in the village of Mamaroneck is getting more interesting by the day. A third candidate has entered the race, Beth Hofstetter, current trustee in the village of Mamaroneck, and she's with us now here at LMC News. Beth, why do you want to be mayor of the village of Mamaroneck?
Well, I think that I have the leadership and the experience after having run and been elected and re-elected for 5 terms that the village, I believe, needs at this point in its history. And I think it's a very crucial and important time, and I think that I'm the one that could be the best leader at this point.
Now, perhaps not as exciting subject, but nonetheless, something the village has been without a village manager for about 6 or 7 months. I understand we're closer to having a permanent village manager.
Yes, the selection committee that had been set up, the 7 members selection committee set up by the village board, has advertised and gone through a lot of resumes and done a lot of interviewing, and then was able to suggest to us 3 candidates, the references of whom they have checked, and the village board as a whole, along with the interim and the acting manager, have interviewed 3 different people, and tonight at our agenda meeting we have more or less made a decision to make an offer to one of the candidates, of whom I cannot mention the name until that person would accept, but that's how close we are. And I think what is the good news for this community is that I think all 3 candidates were superb, were very good. We would be lucky to have any one of them.
Thanks for that report, Roger. We might also mention that the other 2 candidates for the mayor's race in Mamaroneck are the current mayor, Paul Noto, and the independent candidate, Norman Rosenblum. Running for trustee again is incumbent Walter Rogers and Democrat Anne-Marie Tyrone.
Larchmont's professional firemen have 2 reasons to cheer. First, after 7 months of negotiation, the 14 paid firefighters will receive a 5 3/4% raise. That'll bring the salary for a first-grade firefighter from $38,000 to $40,000. The raise is retroactive to last June 1st. The department is also getting a new $250,000 fire engine. The winning bid went to the Pierce Manufacturing Company of Appleton, Wisconsin. It's scheduled for delivery a year after the contract is signed.
The village of Larchmont may be going high-tech, and parking scofflaws may face a new threat. The village may lease a handheld computer system for its parking enforcement officers. The village already works with the computer company that leases the handheld devices. Complus Data Innovations of Hawthorne processes parking tickets now and gets 12% of fine collections as payment. It would lease the handheld computers for another 1%. The advantage is the instant access officers in the field would have to the computer, to scofflaws, and tow trucks.
If you're working on a homework paper or doing research for a business project, you'll find it much easier now at the Larchmont Library. The New York Times, the Christian Science Monitor, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and some 400 other periodicals have been indexed in the library's new CD-ROM computer. Information can be printed out, so you don't even have to take notes from the screen. The system has been leased for 3 years.
2 weeks ago, we reported that Mamaroneck Village Police were going to learn Spanish. The idea was to improve relations with the Hispanic community through better communication skills. However, the classes are off for now. Apparently, the officers withdrew when they found out they wouldn't be paid for the class time. Chief Joseph Del Bianco says the 46 men in his department do want to improve relations with the Hispanic community, and he is now trying to get the Spanish lessons included in the officers' paid training program.
The town of Mamaroneck is working on some new things for its youngsters as well as its oldsters. With more on that, here's LMC News reporter Roger Norum.
A couple of interesting developments in the town of Mamaroneck involving St. John and Paul School and the senior citizens. With me is council member of the town of Mamaroneck, Kathleen Tracy O'Flynn. Ms. O'Flynn, could you tell us, first of all, about St. John and Paul School? There's a traffic problem?
Yes, we had a resident who contacted us, the town board, who was concerned about the heavy traffic and the speed with which the traffic was traveling on Weaver Street past St. John and Paul School. And the school children have to travel along that street, and many of them do cross it. So he asked us to look into the possibility of creating a school zone, which we did. It is a state road, and it appears as though we'll have the state's blessing to create a school zone there. And what it will involve is putting a crosswalk across Weaver Street and also slowing the traffic down. We will post signs now so that the traffic during school hours will have to slow down from 30 to 20 miles an hour.
So slow down on Weaver Street. Now, the Senior Citizens Program, there's a new innovation, something that will benefit the senior citizens.
This is a new program that should benefit all the senior citizens of the 3 municipalities, that is the village of Larchmont, the village of Mamaroneck, and the town of Mamaroneck. On February 4th, the new senior citizen call-in program will start. All senior citizens have to do is register with one of the senior centers in town, and this program, 2 hours each morning, will call senior citizens who are registered under this program just to make sure that they're okay. One of the concerns of many senior citizens who are living at home alone is that they may have a sudden illness or an accident and no one will be aware of it. Under this program, they'll receive the phone call each morning. If for some reason they are unable to get to that phone, then under the procedures they'll contact a backup person who should have a key. If that person is unaware of any reason why that person should be out, then they'll notify the police, and in turn, the end result will be we'll be aware of what's happening to our seniors.
Mamaroneck Village residents will soon receive boxes for used newspapers. The idea is to encourage people to put newspapers out on Wednesdays for recycling. 5,000 boxes will be delivered to village residents by the end of February. And 2 co-ops are getting major tax refunds from the village of Mamaroneck. Tax assessments have been reduced for the 2 projects for several past years. The village decided to settle out of court. Village assessor Lloyd Wright says it saves money in legal and appraisal fees and on the interest it has to pay on the overpaid taxes. So the Lawn Terrace Co-op in Rhinebeck will be getting back $19,250 and Palmer Terrace more than $40,000.
Some school news about some very talented teachers and administrators. Monique Citron has the story. Monique?
Lunetta, this faculty's recital sounds so spectacular. I have to hear more.
Well, we're really excited about it. It's the first one in a long, long time. We have everything from Bach to Dixieland Band. We have lots of winds, woodwinds. We have piano duet. We have a guitar husband and wife team. We have singing. We have a bassoon.
These are faculty from all the different schools.
From all the different schools, not just music faculty. We have some administrators even.
Wonderful.
It's faculty and staff, and actually we may be here all night long. We have so much on this program.
That's wonderful, and it's next Thursday,
January 31st,
at 7:30 in the McLean Auditorium.
That's right.
Now I understand you're singing something very wonderful. What is that?
Well, I'm doing something from Oklahoma. I'm originally from Oklahoma, and one of my favorite songs is "I Can't Say No."
Are you going to treat us with a little bit?
Well, I could do a little of it.
That would be nice.
It ain't so much a question of not knowing what to do. I've known what's right and wrong since I've been 10. I heard a lot of stories, and I reckon they are true, about how girls are put upon by men. I know I mustn't fall into the pit, but when I'm with a feller, I forget.
If you want to hear more, you simply must come to the faculty recital next Thursday in the McLean Auditorium. It's $2 it's a scholarship program that you're funding?
Yes.
That would be just great.
Thanks, Monique.
By the way, don't forget the parenting conference set for this Saturday at Mamaroneck High School. It's at 9 a.m. and will last until about 3 in the afternoon. And all parents in the area are invited to attend the day of workshops on helping parents of adolescents. Among the workshops, the art of negotiation and the art of dealing with stress. This day for parents was originally scheduled a few weeks ago, but because of the snowstorm, it was postponed until this Saturday.
This year, 1991, marks Larchmont Village's centennial. And with us today, and hopefully at least once a month from now on, is Julie Gilligan, who'll be telling us what preparations Larchmont's going to be making for the centennial. Julie.
Well, an awful lot's going on, Rita. Jim Fleming has designed a wonderful logo for the centennial, which we will be showing at some point on the news show. Marge Bacone and Nan Forger are co-chairmen for the centennial, and they have urged me to tell everyone who's watching to go into the Larchmont Village Clerk's office and put their name in and sign up to be a volunteer on one of the committees, because we hope everybody, young and old, in Larchmont is going to take part in this. The main event will be on Saturday, September 28th, and many wonderful things will be leading up to that. Harvey Rubin, a longtime resident of Larchmont, is editing a centennial book. We're going to have centennial flags and T-shirts. And residents of Larchmont are going to be invited to tea in the Manor House.
That is so lovely. And what about that trolley that's taking people through the...
Oh, yes, there's going to be a horse-drawn trolley. That will all be on the 28th. There'll be a parade, and then 2 horses will draw a trolley all the way through Larchmont, and people from the Historical Society will narrate a tour of old Larchmont.
That's wonderful. So I look forward to many happy, informative moments in the next year.
Parking fees are going up in the village of Mamaroneck. Village Clerk and Treasurer Leonard Verastro blames the increase on a new state sales tax on off-street parking meters. For commuters, the Jefferson Avenue, Van Rance Place, and Bishop Avenue lots will cost $180 a year, an increase of $30. Parking at the Hunter Tier on Prospect Avenue under the Emlyn Theater, the Playhouse parking lot near Phillips Park Road, and the Library Lane and Johnston Avenue parking lots will also cost $180. It'll be $70 for overnight parking at the Hunter lot and $200 for 24-hour parking on the lower level of the Hunter parking tier. Non-resident commuter parking permits are going up $50 to $350. The village is also losing 2 lots on Halsted and Ward Avenues. They will go to the 75-unit senior citizens housing complex on Halsted Avenue.
Last Thursday night, January 24th, the Larchmont Gardens Association met with Police Commissioner Dallas to discuss the recent rash of crime in the town of Mamaroneck. Alice Modell was there to tape the meeting.
The rob, the guy with the gun that's a stick-em-up, okay, that's a robbery. I go into what robbery is, and I go into specifically how you must protect yourself. You should have that peephole. And if you don't know who's coming or knocking on the door of the visitor, they boot you to find out by keeping the door closed and speaking through it.
The New Rochelle Animal Shelter has received quite a few purebred dogs, and they're available for adoption. One is a white miniature poodle, another is a wire-haired terrier, 2 years old. There's 2 American Spitzes, and an English setter who'll need training. For more information, call 632-2925.
And that's our report. If you'd like to join us in preparing, producing, or reporting Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, why not join us? We're all volunteers. We meet every Thursday night about 7 in the Palmer Building studio at the Mamaroneck High School, just up the hill across from Walter's Hot Dogs. Come by and introduce yourself. I'm Bill Littauer.
And I'm Lynn Goodman. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.
welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Rita Blockton. On this edition, gas explosion rocks Mamaroneck's Harbor Heights section.
A political field gets a little more crowded for the March 19 election.
A look at our area's real estate the past year. We'll have a special report.
Some yellow ribbons for the asking to support the troops. Those stories and more on tonight's edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
A big blast in Harbor Heights last Wednesday. Con Edison construction crews were working on a gas line leak on Knollwood Road in the Harbor Heights section above the Mamaroneck Thruway. Something went wrong and too much gas escaped, particularly into one residence. Mamaroneck police and fire units were on the scene quickly, and homeowners on Knollwood and Langdon Lanes were asked to evacuate their homes. The crews worked through the night, and finally residents were permitted to go back to their homes shortly after midnight. That is, except for the residents of the home at 1311 Langdon Lane, where the glass from all the windows exploded out onto the streets and the yard. The garage door was thrown 20 feet into the street, and the incredible fact that except for some frayed nerves, there were absolutely no injuries from the incident. Nearly 40 families had to leave their home for several hours, though.
Well, the Mamaroneck Village's political parties made it official last week, endorsing their candidates for the upcoming March election. As expected, three-term Mayor Paul Noto was nominated again to run for another term as mayor. GOP trustee Walter Rogers was also nominated to run for another term on the village board. For the Democrats, Beth Hofstetter has announced her candidacy to run for mayor. She's currently a trustee on the board. A newcomer on the political scene, Anne-Marie Tyrone, will run for the trustee position on the Democrats' ticket. Ms. Tyrone currently is the director of the Village Keeps program for after-school child care. Running as an independent for Mamaroneck Village Mayor is Norman Rosenblum.
A replacement has been appointed to fill the vacancy recently created on the Coastal Zone Management Commission by Paul Ryan. Ryan was appointed to the Mamaroneck Town Board to finish the unexpired term of Council Member Stephen Chapin, who resigned. The Mamaroneck Board of Trustees appointed attorney Barbara Stein to take Ryan's place. The board also appointed Stephen Scarangella to be on the Village Harbor Commission.
In time for the Centennial of Larchmont, the Village Board of Trustees has given the okay to the Village Beautification Committee to buy and hang flags and centennial banners. The committee will order 75 3-by-5-foot flags at $10 each. The flags will fly at strategic locations throughout the Larchmont Village and are expected to be flying by April. The Larchmont Centennial official celebration will be in September, but the display of the support for the troops in the Persian Gulf should be evident in a matter of weeks.
Roger, speaking of the Centennial, the second part of the interview I did last week with Gilligan, who is our Centennial representative, is coming up next. Take a look.
The Historical Society has done some wonderful things called A Slice of Larchmont, and I could share a couple of them with you if you'd like. In 1891, the former summer colony of Larchmont officially became the incorporated village, and the first executive they had was called a president, and we didn't have a mayor in Larchmont till 1927. Then in 1915, Joyce Kilmer the author of Trees, lived in Larchmont on Grove Avenue, and he left Larchmont to join World War II. He became a sergeant and was killed in 1918 fighting with the famous fighting 69th Regiment. The last thing that I can share with you is why so many of us are called commuters. In the 1850s, the railroads devised a multi-ticket that they called commuted tapes, and people bought them in as a multiple ticket, and all the early Larchmonters did, and from that time on they were called commuters.
While the supply lasts, area residents can pick up yellow ribbons at the Mamaroneck Village Hall to tie around their trees and posts in honor of the troops in the Persian Gulf. Just stop by the village clerk treasurer's office between the hours of 9 and 4:30. Mayor Noto says the village is giving the ribbons away to show that we can all join together in support of the war effort. Rita?
Over in Larchmont, the Democrats and Republicans have decided who should be the newly elected trustees. The Democrats picked Sandy Feldman and Judy O'Gorman to run against Republicans Marion White and Kenneth Bialo.
For the Larchmont Village Justice Chair, the Republicans picked Joseph Clifford. He was nominated for his 6th four-year term. To run against him, the Democrats picked former Deputy Village Prosecutor Joan Cooney. Real estate throughout the country, for that matter, in this area in particular, has really taken a beating this past year. For more on the story, our real estate reporter, Deborah Doern.
Now that the new year has come and gone, we thought it might be interesting to review the single-family real estate activity in the Larchmont-Mamaroneck area. All statistics are taken from the multiple listing service of the Westchester County Board of Realtors. The 1990 total number of single-family listings was 212, with a median list price of $375. Median meaning there is an equal number of listings above and below $375. And the mean or average list price was $553,475. The highest list price was $4,250,000 and the lowest $160,000. The greatest number of listings in one price range was 61 in the $200 to $299 range. Actual 1990 sales were as follows. The total number of single-family sales was 187. In 1989, there were 215. The median sale price was $430,500, and the average was $516,986. The highest sale price was $3,150,000, and the lowest was $164,000. The greatest number of sales in any one price range was 47 in the $300 to $399 range. The average marketing time was reported as 177 days, or 5 3/4 months. This, however, is deceiving. Example, a seller lists his or her house with Joe Schmidt Agency for 6 months and then decides to change brokers. He then lists with James Smith Agency and his house sells in 3 months. The days on the market will show only 3 months starting. Starting when he changed agencies, when the actual time on the market was 9 months. So if you've been on the market for a year, don't fret. On another note, the final 1990 census count is out. Mamaroneck Village has 17,325 residents, down 1.7% from 1980. Larchmont Village has 6,181 residents, down 2%, and total Mamaroneck Town has 27,706 residents, down 4.5% from 1980. The village figures are included in the town total. It is interesting to note that most lower Westchester towns and villages went down in numbers of residents, while most northern Westchester towns increased. Next week, we'll look at the sales activity in the condo co-op market in Larchmont and Mamaroneck.
Now for a school news report, and our school news reporter, Monique Citron. Monique.
New Plays 91, 5 one-act plays by Mamaroneck High School students will be presented this weekend in McLean Auditorium. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 8 p.m. Senior citizens can attend free by calling the school at 698-9000. You'll be issued a gold card. By the way, last year, one of the students' plays won an award from the Bravo Network.
Driver's Ed coming to Ryeneck. Students at Ryeneck High will be able to get the unrestricted driver's licenses a year early after completing a new Driver's Ed program. The program is a joint effort of the Ryeneck High School with the School of Holy Child in Rye. The 40-hour course will include both classroom and on-the-road training, and the students will also have to pay $275 for the course. Rita?
And now with the story of particular interest to Larchmont commuters, Lynn Goodman. Lynn?
Those of you who park your car at the Larchmont train station may have 33 more spaces to choose from. The village is negotiating with the Metropolitan Transportation Authority over who will pay for the new spots, which will be located on North Avenue on the eastbound side of the station. The new parking area will cost about $254,000 to build. Larchmont Village wants the MTA to pay half. So far, the MTA has agreed to pay $90,000. The MTA has also agreed to pave the existing spots on the eastbound side.
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont and Mamaroneck Community News. Remember, if you've missed any portion of the program, you can watch it any weekday night at 7:30 and 12:30. Or give LMC a call and ask for it to be shown on Request TV. Another thought, if you would like to get involved in a community project, this news program is worth looking into.
We are all volunteers. We can use more help behind the scenes. And if you have a special area of interest, we're looking for a sports reporter, a police blotter reporter, an area consumer news reporter, and on and on. Just about any field of interest you have, we can probably fit that area of interest into our news program. Drop by on a Thursday night and see what we do at the LMC-TV studios. On a Thursday night at 7 o'clock, we're across the street from Walter's Hot Dogs. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Rita Blockton. Until next time.
Okay, my name is Bill Murphy. I'm the spokesperson for Con Edison here in Westchester. The reports that I have seen indicate that yesterday afternoon, about 3 o'clock, we got a series of calls from people along this street, Knollwood, saying they smelled gas. We sent 2 crews. When the crews arrived, based upon tests that they took on the street, they started to evacuate the people at 215 and the houses on either side of 215, Knollwood. Right? While they were doing that, and while they also had pulled the manhole covers off the sewer vents here on the street, something happened at the house here on Langdon around the corner. The fire department was called, and they responded to a fire that was happening in the house here on Langdon around the corner. Our crews were here then until about 10 o'clock last night. We performed tests on every house along Knollwood to make sure that no dangerous situation was involved in any of those. Then we also did a series of excavations here on the street to locate what we believe to be was a leak in our main, which runs down this street. What our engineers theorize is that a leak, which was found here, the gas escaped into the sewer system, and it traveled along the sewer system underneath here, and that in the houses where we did detect some gas, the gas was able to enter through open sewer traps. All right, every house has a sewer trap. It's where your pipes leave your house. And in this case, the traps were open, and so gas was able to enter some of the homes. The repair was made on this main at about 9:20 or 9:25 last evening, and then the residents who were still not in their houses were allowed to enter at that time. We performed another series of tests out here on the street after that to make sure that that repair had ended the situation on the main. We found no further evidence that there was a gas situation out here, and now we're just doing what's called permanent repair and replacement on the roads.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Rita Blockton. On this edition, a former vice presidential candidate makes an appearance in our area.
Mamaroneck Town takes action on trees.
A delay for the Premium Point dredging project.
Mamaroneck School District classrooms to get a little more crowded.
And it's the time of the year for florists to see a lot of green. Those stories and more on tonight's edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. First, last week, the Larchmont Mamaroneck League of Women Voters welcomed Geraldine Ferraro as guest speaker to almost 200 women and Norman Kolb at their luncheon at the Bonnie Briar Country Club. The former New York City school teacher, assistant DA, 3-term Queens Congresswoman, vice presidential candidate with Walter Mondale, spoke about the crisis of health care in this country, the war, the budgetary priorities, and her own aspirations for the Senate race in 1992.
The question was, are you going to run for the U.S. Senate? To be very honest, I don't know. What I'm doing is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, we're doing focus groups throughout the state. I would love to be in the Senate. I think I'd be a superb senator. But I've run in races where you win, and I've run in races where you lose. I prefer winning. And I won't run unless I really think I have a shot of winning it.
The bureaucratic red tape is slowing up the marsh dredging project for the Premium Point River. That's the area behind Tony's Nursery. Mamaroneck Town and Larchmont Village got the state funding to have the marsh dredged, over $600,000 in the state grant last year. The dredging was supposed to begin 2 months ago, but 4 different permits had to be obtained. 3 of them are in hand, but the 4th is still pending. And as it looks now, the dredging won't begin until fall. The dredging's necessary because soil and other debris is carried downstream and it settles in the marshland, eventually clogging and restricting the natural flushing action of the tides.
To bring us up to date on the Larchmont Village zoning discussions on the waterfront area is Trustee Cheryl Louie.
In 1989, the Coastal Zone Management Commission was following the recommendation of the LWRP, it's called. It's a document that is our local waterfront revitalization plan. The town of Mamaroneck and the village of Larchmont were among the first to develop a bona fide acceptable plan created by a planner for the waterfront. That plan recommended that the town and the village of Larchmont, town of Mamaroneck, increase the zoning requirements along the water. The town of Mamaroneck increased their zoning almost immediately to 40,000 square foot lots. The village of Larchmont had not yet done that, and so we started a study which was going to be conducted by Dan Schuster Associates, a formal planner, to look into recommendations for the waterfront in the village of Larchmont.
All right, so you're at that point now. You haven't made any decisions.
We have made no decisions. There is a proposed document that is in a draft state as a law, and we have not yet resolved all the issues in that proposal so that we could present it for public hearings.
All right. Now, this is in the unlikely, hopefully, event that one of the beach clubs or the Manor Park is sold to a private person. Is that correct?
Among other things, there are more long-range goals than that, to enhance the waterfront, to maintain its quality. But yes, we would like to have some control over what happens to that waterfront. Our goal is to see the clubs remain healthy, to be clubs forever. We would like to keep that water access. They are private property in a residential zone right now, but we would like to be able to control what happens in the future.
We're only a few weeks away from the village elections, and LMC News hopes to present each of the candidates in a profile. Among the 3 candidates for mayor in the village of Mamaroneck is Norman Rosenblum. Norman, thanks for being with us on LMC News. First of all, why do you want to be Mamaroneck mayor?
Well, I think the village of Mamaroneck deserves 2 things, basically. One is a little more civility in the village board elections, which in turn leads to the other primary reason I'm running, and that is that the mayor and the village of Mamaroneck should represent accessibility to the village. I think that you have a basic idea of what government is, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and I propose to add one more, which is to the people, and basically be accessible.
And what do you feel are your qualifications to be mayor?
Well, my qualifications are both business and in government experience. I am a current 8-year member of the Board of Assessment Review. My financial and business background is in international marketing, which also at one point involved America's Cup competition throughout the world, and I have a previous term as village trustee, so I know the inner workings and the proper workings of what the government should be.
Now, a couple of key issues have been, I guess, sort of resolved this past year. The lights on Harbor Island, the softball lights, which you were instrumental in lobbying to get put up, and also the firehouse controversy is pretty much settled. What do you see as the main issues of this campaign?
Well, I think the main issues of this campaign, using those 2 examples, are not even the particular side that any individual or group had. I think the problem was the manner in which they discussed. If you were to take the parties immediately for and against and sat them down in a civil manner, you would find that you could have, in an expedited manner, gotten to the exact point you did now without the divisiveness that you experience now in the village of Mamaroneck. It's just a matter of pragmatic leadership, which is sorely missing in this village. And I think the style of leadership of both my opponents are very evident. And I think I am probably the only viable alternative to a little civility that is sorely missing in the village.
It's time for school news, and our school news reporter, Monique Citron.
A vote to increase elementary school size took place last week when the Mamaroneck School Board agreed to raise the limits imposed just 2 years ago. Faced with increasing enrollments, the new limits would allow 24 pupils instead of 22 in kindergarten, then progress from 22 to 23 in grades 2 through 4, and 24 to 26 in 5th and 6th grades. Superintendent Norman Kolb said the new limits would accommodate enrollment projections for the next few years. A controversial proposal to let homeless children pick their schools is the latest attempt to let the region's 798 homeless school children improve their education. The proposal, which is voluntary, will be voted on this month by 9 districts, including Mamaroneck. We hope to do a follow-up for you shortly. Mamaroneck High School has chosen its new principal. His name is James Coffey, and he comes from Horace Greeley in Chappaqua. Coffey, who will start its new position July 1st, will be earning in the vicinity of $90,000. Does cheering for the home team sound like fun to you? Well, if you're a girl at the Hummocks entering the high school next year, here's your chance to become a cheerleader. Tryouts are starting now, so contact Miss Borsellino at the high school.
A full day of parenting workshops. It took 9 months of preparation, and the baby was born on February 2nd. With more on this is our reporter, Lynn Goodman.
Those of you who have teenage children know how hard it is to bridge the generation gap. Today at Mamaroneck High School, parents are attending a parenting workshop, hearing from the experts how to communicate with their teenagers. How did you come to today's parenting workshop?
Well, I have 3 children, 20, 18, and 3. There's a 3-year-old. And I'm having problems with one of my adolescents. So I decided to learn as much as I could before I kill her.
It's about being disobedient and having someone being disrespectful of you. And sometimes you take it so personally when a child does something like that, when they absolutely have no idea that they're disrespecting you, they have no idea that they're doing something to annoy you, they're just being.
All too often, those of us who find ourselves in power positions, whether it's boss, principal over teachers, or parents over kids, we fail to recognize that negotiation is this voluntary process, and if you want commitment, you have to negotiate. You can always get compliance. Yes, Mom, yes, sir, I'll do what you say if you're in power. But commitment comes from negotiation.
Really, there's no research that there's any one way to rear a child. There is not. Parents who are strict and basically have been strict throughout a child's life are just as effective as parents who have been lenient and throughout the child's life. I think that what really predicts success in most cases is consistency. That whatever approach you've taken with a child, that you stay consistent with it.
You go to the dentist and you say to the dentist, do I have to have a shot at Novocaine today? I think it's Xylocaine. And the dentist says, of course you have to have a shot at Novocaine today. Wait, you want to feel the pain? And he obviously just missed the entire point of what your feelings were. If he had said or she had said to you, you're really kind of frightened about having the needle, aren't you? And you say, yeah, doctor, I am. Your stress level, your anxiety immediately plummets to half of what it was. So it's real important for them to know you understand how they feel.
And in negotiation, if you begin to understand that there's always something under what people are asking for and learn how to find what's underneath, then you can move up to higher level functionings in negotiation and conflict resolution.
I think it's the unpredictable parent that makes life difficult for a child.
It was powerful. I thought it was very, very useful.
I think it's important for parents to see that there are other like-thinking parents in town.
Discussion with the different people here and hearing what everybody brought out of it was as exciting as the session that went on in the morning.
From LMC-TV, I'm Lynn Goodman.
A tree grows in Mamaroneck. In fact, a lot of trees grow in the town of Mamaroneck, and the town council discussed the subject at last week's meeting. LMC News spoke with town councilman John McGarr.
John, could you tell us a little bit about last week's town council meeting?
One of the significant items on the agenda was an amendment to the tree preservation law. There had been a few instances in the past year when cases of appeal came before the town council. The tree preservation law applies to lot sizes greater than ½ an acre. And what we passed last week were amendments that permitted, if there are dead trees, that they would be allowed to be removed with the review of the tree commission. Also, if there were lot sizes greater than ½ an acre that had a ratio up to 30 trees per acre, that we left it to the discretion of the tree commission that trees did not have to be replaced on a one-for-one basis, if it not being practical on the site. We also addressed another issue that some residents had in terms of where trees had been taken down and the stump was remaining, and it was not feasible for equipment to be moved onto the site at that location, or taking a stump out that may be close to an existing structure might damage the structure. We also addressed that and let it to the discretion of the tree commission to give waivers in those
I didn't know you
situations.
had to remove the stump.
Yes, yes.
Because that is difficult.
Well, yes, and it would be to remove the stump, and then the concept was remove the stump and then have another tree planted.
Well, don't forget that the 14th is Valentine's Day, and with some not-so-rosy news about roses, Monique Citron.
It may not be romantic, but the price of roses is going up all over town this week in time for Valentine's Day. In fact, a dozen long-stem roses, which could have cost as little as $15 last week on special at Westchester Site Design in Mamaroneck, will now cost $29.95 there. However, they are still the clear winner when compared to other florists who quoted prices as high as $75 a dozen and $85 in a vase. Prices generally increase from $15 to $20 for the Valentine's holiday, I learned. Most florists quoted prices in the $60 to $70 range for the popular Madame Delbar bloom. Local florists blame increases on growers eager to take advantage of the demand, although one did blame the increase on the Rose Bowl game.
This week begins our Pet of the Week series in conjunction with the Humane Society in New Rochelle. Stormy is an absolutely precious, loving 3-year-old spayed female husky shepherd mix. She's housebroken, loves dogs, cats, and children, and I couldn't believe how sweet she was.
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Remember to watch this program any weekday night at 7:30 and 12:30. Also remember that this is a volunteer effort, and it might be a fun way for you to give back to the community. Drop by on a Thursday night at 7 in the LMC studios across from Walter's Hot Dogs in the Palmer Avenue unit of the high school. That's when we put this program together. We'd love to see you, and you could see what we do. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Rita Blockton. Good night.